Autumn for Black Tree, written and read by Oliver Tonic. This is a completed novella, read as a series. Enjoy the story from here on, or start from the beginning with the first episode. And now, back to the tale. Episode 4, A Curious Crop. The next morning, Barley made his way to the market again. It wasn't long before he noticed commotion in a small group forming near the center of the stands. A man rallied the people, calling for the attention of the crowd. Barley made his way into the crowd to hear better. "A warning to all," he cried out. "The beast that ruins our fields has struck again. Protect your crops and safeguard your families. The beast has struck again." The man was banging a metal canister and repeating the message again and again. He went from place to place, trying to gather them within earshot. Barley looked through the concerned faces and spotted Paxis with her bag of goods. She was taking note of the man like the rest of the crowd. He made his way toward her through the stands. She smiled her glistening smile when she spotted him. "No armor today, I see," she said. Barley glanced down at himself. He was wearing simpler, more comfortable clothes. He would have looked just like another villager at the market had it not been for his tree-like appendages and leafy head of hair. "Yeah, I find when investigating and interviewing townspeople it puts them a bit more at ease. I'm still piecing clues together, so I figured I'd look a bit less formal." Paxis was looking him up and down as he spoke. His broad shoulders hadn't needed any help from his previous outfit. He had strong arms, and she hadn't quite noticed how charming his eyes were. "Well, you look good," she said. "So what's all this?" he asked. "Oh, there was an attack again last night. People are buying weapons and supplies to fortify their fencing. The vendors will probably sell out." "No, I mean, what's all this that you have on you? You're picking ingredients? What are you making?" "Oh," she said. It's a tip-top berry pie recipe I came up with." "Wow, you came up with it?" "Yeah, I found the tip-top berries in the woods not too far from here. No one has found them yet, so they're all for me. Or, well, the king and queen, once it's in the pie." "You climbed all the way up to get 'em, all on your own?" Barley was clearly impressed. "Yeah, I don't mind climbing trees, and afterwards I come here to get the rest of the ingredients." Barley smiled. "A scavenger and a cook. What a fine girl you are. And I think maybe just the lady I need to see." He reached into his pouch and pulled something out. It was a mushroom. It was fairly ordinary looking, with an off-white color, but on the underside of the head it had maroon spots covering its surface. He handed it to Paxis, who recognized it immediately. "This is Pelodius shroom. Where did you get this?" "Well, that's what I was hoping you could tell me. I've never seen anything quite like it. Your king had it on him." "King Farron?" she asked. "He paid me a visit last night. He's something different." Paxis handed the Pelodius shroom back to the knight and pointed over his shoulder. "Do you see that young man there?" She referred to a slender young farmer standing at a mostly empty stand. "I do," said Barley, turning around. "Go see him. He knows a lot about these." They said their goodbyes, and Barley made his way over to the young man and inquired about his name. "I'm Toka. Are you the beast-hunting knight?" he asked. "One and the same," Barley said with a smile. "Good. I was one of the ones hit last night. I should be home bolstering my fences and protecting my farm. Maybe you could come with me to my home and see the damage? I don't have nearly enough to sell today anyway." Barley couldn't think of a better way to spend his day. "Absolutely." Toka called over another nearby shop owner to watch his stand and help him sell off what he had. He said he'd be back later to collect what's left over. The farmer and the knight made their way to Toka's farm, and on the way he told him about the frustrations he'd experienced due to the monster. He said he hadn't nearly enough to sell lately, as he'd lost a large percentage of his crop. "Here it is," Toka said when they arrived. Barley looked over his expanse of land surrounded by fencing. He could see where Toka had begun to fortify it, but had not yet completed his project. But the most notable thing about Toka's farm was his crop. Although Barley knew what he saw, he chose to ask Toka about it. "What all do you grow here?" Toka looked over his land, pointing to a section of field. "Well, my fall crop is my wheat field here, and it's just been ravished. I have so little left. I'm worried about the winter." Toka hadn't addressed Barley's concern yet. But this section here, you're growing something else. Oh, you mean the Pelodius shrooms? Yeah, we have those too, he said. The entire acre of his land was dedicated to this crop. A huge expanse of mushrooms lay before them. They were all the off-white with maroon spotted undersides, but most of these were much larger than the one Barley had in his pocket. They grew to about the size of a human head. Seeing them all grouped together growing this way gave one a sense of beauty as well as an uncomfortable undercurrent of dread. They didn't look right, as they were all growing in bunches so close together that some layered over each other. Are mushrooms a big seller? Barley asked. What? Toka looked at him confused. Oh no, they're incredibly poisonous. You really have to be careful with them. Barley couldn't believe what he heard. Poisonous? Of course. You don't have Pelodius where you're from? No, why would you grow this? Barley said. Toka frowned and gestured toward the shrooms. Everyone grows this as part of the royal decree. And speaking of which, come look at this. Barley was speechless, pondering what was said as Toka led him around his crop. It then occurred to him that he hadn't seen any of these mushrooms at the market. If the mushrooms weren't for eating or selling, then Barley was disturbed as to what they could be for. See, this is unbelievable, said Toka with his hand out toward his land. Before them was scorched earth. It was clear a fire had burnt up a large section of the Pelodius crop. Black charring and ash had laid waste to it. Barley could tell these were not prescribed burns, as it seemed haphazard. It was though someone had taken a torch to it and just ran it in a line through the field down the middle and then zigzagged back and forth in no particular pattern. Have you actually seen this creature? Is it some sort of dragon? He asked. No, said Toka. The creature doesn't shoot fire. It's made of fire. Barley squatted down and picked up a charred black Pelodius. He squeezed it to ash in his hand. Made of it, huh? He whispered quietly to himself. Speaking of, I need to get to this fence. Check the perimeter if you need me. Feel free to search the property. Toka headed off to grab some supplies. Barley rose up and noticed something. He made his way through the burnt section of the field. As he did, he saw what appeared to be scratch marks in the ashes. It looked like something had clawed its way through the crops as they burned. But this had not been what he had noticed. He reached the end of the fire damage and walked through a section of the field that had healthy Pelodius shrooms until he reached the end of the crop growth where woodland trees lined the outskirts of the property. Far from a clearly defined line between the crop and the trees, though, it appeared there was portions of the mushroom growth that had been destroyed. The heads of the Pelodius had been sheared off in many places and had been uprooted entirely in others. It didn't look like any sort of harvesting he'd seen. It was far too messy. Something else had been on this farm.